before I get into anything, man, I just want to say I'm so proud of you, so happy to see you. You're doing big things, and I just listen. We're gonna get into this later, but I just want to give some people the resume. I just want to throw the resume out because you know I'm big on resumes, KJ. I'm big on resumes here. Production company. Content Cartel produces his own show, KG Certified. Let's make sure we get that out of the way, which, by the way, is available on Showtime Basketball in conversations with several distribution partners. Now that Showtime has announced they're about to shut down. You got 2 films on Tubi coming up, Cinnamon and Murder City. You wanted to reimagine blaxploitation and black noir. Let's not forget about that. Just building the KG brand and everything like that. You always had this vision? You always plotted this out? Or is this something that just happened since you retired?
I got to say, Stephen, coming out of Minnesota, man, I wanted to really go out of basketball and go right back into basketball. I felt like I had a good connection with the younger guys at that time. It was, when I went back to Minnesota from Brooklyn, I knew that I was going to retire in Minnesota. Coming out of there, I wanted to go right into management. I wanted to be able to help curate the mentality of a lot of these kids because I was seeing that it was different. I had 3 stars around me, or 3 future stars around me, with that being Zach LaVine, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Andrew Wiggins. And all of them had unbelievable talent. And, yeah, that was my love. And then that went for a loop when Flip passed. When Flip passed, everything changed, and I had to make a deviate.
Hold on for a second, because everybody don't know who Flip is. That's Flip Saunders, former head coach and GM for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Go ahead.
Yeah, Flip Saunders passed, man, and his passing came at just the craziest timing, to where everything shifted to where I saw basketball not being the future, and I started getting offers on from networks, mainly to talk about the game and to talk about this part of the game that we haven't seen yet. Again, this is 2016-15 that I'm talking about.
Right.
And then I got offered a movie from the Southey brothers called Uncut Gems, and then it was
you were great in that, by the way. You were great in that.
Listen, let me ask you a question before we go on, bro. They asked me to play myself, and I was like, cool. Can you mess up playing yourself?
You can. Because let me tell you how. The bright lights get to a lot of people. They talk like they ain't fazed by the bright lights. But all of a sudden the bright lights come on and cats get a bit timid and they want to be polished instead of authentic. See, somebody like you, I'm not worried about that because you don't believe in being anything but authentic. No. But other cats who are more image conscious per se, who want to project a certain imagery rather than just themselves. Yeah, you can mess up being you.
Well, I didn't think that. I didn't think that I could mess up being Kevin. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
When I did that part, it was a lot of stuff that was coming from an organic place. I've been in the jewelry store with the guys. I've been, been in clubs. I haven't been in an auction, but a lot of stuff was speaking back to me. You know what I'm saying? So it was only when I dabbled in that. I went to Turner and did some things for them for 3 years, and then I started to open up my eyes and start to be like, Shaq. I work with Shaq. I work with Chuck. I work with Kenny. I work with Ernie. Work with a bunch of those guys at Turner. Actually shaped my love for not just journalism, but then being able to give an insight where there's a lot of holes to be filled, and there was a lot of. I just saw my place. I saw where I fit, and I wanted to have that be, like you said earlier, a very authentic and very different from what I was seeing out there. And ever since then, man, I just jumped in 2 feet. I'm a visionary. A lot of people that know me know that I work in vision. And as I started to just turn this thing, I started to see the deviates, and I started to see the leveraging parts. And then slowly but surely, I got a small team. We're all on the same kite as far as how we think. And then we see the things that are being put out here. And it's hard to be able to say that the wheel is already created, right? What is your variant that you're going to throw to the world that people haven't seen? That's the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, it's been a process. It's still a process. I think that quality is over everything. But more importantly, man, the vision is going. And, that's the hard part. Getting something up, getting it turning, people respecting it, people viewing, people checking it. With linear TV moving and all these other parts, it was perfect timing to do what we did.
Well, it's interesting that you bring all of that up because you talk about being the visionary, which you absolutely are. But more than anything else, more than an elite player, more than a champion and a Hall of Famer, you've always been a leader. You ain't been a follower. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't know about because obviously you and I haven't spoken much over the years, but we've always been cool. First of all, they don't know that me and you got two familiar boys, Boris Terrell Battle, that used to work with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Our man Boris, that was my teammate at Winston-Salem State. And of course, our man Sam Mitchell. We all boys with each other in the whole bit. The one thing that I tell people, they say that, man, you act like, you don't talk to KG much, but damn, you always talk about him being real authentic. How would you know, Stephen A? How would you know? I said, yo, man, 2003, he might not even remember this. I show up in Minnesota. I'm a beat writer for the Philadelphia 76ers. 76ers playing Minnesota. KG pulled me to the side because, yo, man, you getting on Michael Olowokandi too much. And we talking, and you hipping me to the game like, yo, we respect the hell out of you, but be your real, true, authentic self. But Stephen A, show some compassion from time to time. You broke that down to me, and I was like, yo, that went a long damn way, being fair, making sure you fair-minded. So I always appreciated that about you. And I bring all of that up to say, as you reflect on your career and where you've been, how much of an assistance has your career been in doing what you do now? Because you just finished pointing out, we all on the same page. It's a small group, but we all on the same page. You brought that up. How much did your playing career and what you learned as a player play a role in your ability to lead now with all you're trying to do?
Well, I like to think that it doesn't matter what venture you're in. Leadership skills take on the same thing. You're not going to ask someone to do something that you weren't willing to do yourself. You have to be unequivocally the hardest worker. And you need to be prepared for when things go south to have solutions for those things. If you're not those three things, not saying that you can't be a leader, you're just leading in a different way or a little different from me. When I led teams and when I was learning how to lead, Sam Mitchell would always take it upon me to when things got really rough to really jump in them and just be really solution based. It ain't about arguing, it's about what's the best solution. So I try to use those things that I learned in being a young leader, the things that helped me with teams, the things that helped me with communicating with guys that was non-communicative, getting the guy to be motivated when he wasn't motivated, taking a crap situation, trying to flip it into something and pulling the positives out of it, or really the roadmap of leadership to me. And I take those in account to everything that I do. When we set out, just imagine this, and I always like to tell the story to people. Like you just called out the accolades of creating a content company. Imagine sitting down with a high school coach. You play high school basketball. You play basketball, right? Imagine sitting down with your high school coach and say, hey, look, we ain't going to college. We're going to the NBA. And that mom look at you and go, and go back to turn the TV and go back to watching TV. You go, hey, man, hey, man, hey, write this down, man. We're not going to college. I need you to, and then he rip away from you and look at you like, boy, are you high? What are you? And go back to watching TV.
Right.
He didn't believe it to the third time till I had the serious look on my face like I was feeling either fire on him or it's about to be some other type of smoke to where he looked at me like, oh, you serious? So I come from where people don't always align with your vision and look at you like you're crazy when you say something. I am a true believer that you can do anything you put your mind to, and I am a manifestator. I put things in the universe and I see them. I see them as they're happening. I did this when I played. I did this throughout my career in success and also in failures. And so I say this to say that my walks of life have not only helped me, but they've helped me in terms to where they mirror each other. Like we got people that have ownership in our company that don't ever want to be seen. They want to play the shadows. I played with a guy named Rasho Nesterovich who was quiet and he never wanted to communicate. And I had to learn how to get the best out of Rasho, but without having the components of being communicative and all these other things. So I like to say, man, that when I speak to players and when I speak to young people, they are only listening to me because of my walks of life and the things that I've been able to achieve and survive to talk about and to, survive and talk about and learn from and apply those things that I've learned. So, I'm never trying to play an expert. I've always told people from day one, I'm gonna F it up before I get it right. But I come from a great place. My heart, everything that I do is for the spirit of something betterment. And I believe that I'm light. So, with those things, the walks of life, your experiences, when I sit down and talk to you about what you've been through and negotiating and just this
Yep.
whole journalism, just all of it, bro,
We talk.
that's the meat to me. That's the wonder of all of it. So, those things have helped me in every parts of my life in the things that I've absolutely been successful in.
What player in the NBA, past or present, most reminds you of yourself?
You meaning in what?
Your
Play
mentality,
and
everything
mentality?
that you just described about you. Most remind you. I ain't talking basketball. I'm talking about your mentality.
When I sat down and talked to Russell Westbrook a couple of times, and if you've ever sat down with him, he's
Deep
not
brother.
all deep brother,
Deep
and
brother.
is real. Like what? Like so
Real
today.
and raw.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
Not
he
a
was.
fake bone in his body.
Man, it was dope to talk to him, Stephen A. And he
Yeah.
felt like an old soul. I felt like he was an old cousin that I ain't know I had. And
Right.
when I listened to his belief, when I listened to his declarative, the things that mean something to
Yeah.
him, they really do mean something to him. And when
Yes.
I had a conversation with him, and I saw how he works at a high engine, which is why he's always hurt, which is why he's nicked up every now and then. But he's going a million miles.
He's
Like
not
when I
stopping.
see that, that's like the closest thing I can embody. I would hear all these tales of Michael Jordan, how he practiced. And then I would take that, Stephen A., and I would practice with that for years. As Sam Mitchell, every drill, everything we was doing, I was trying to win. And when I won, I was really upset. Like, didn't nobody understand? Like, J.R. Rodgers be like, bro, relax, it's practice. And then didn't nobody get that. But I did. Sam Mitchell did. A couple people got that. Flip got it. And I thought I was an outsider with that until I started meeting other people that had that same kind of feel. Russell Westbrook probably energetically and wholesomely reminds me of myself. He cares about others. He's a passer. I wouldn't say pass guy first, but he's a guy who wants to help the next man who's struggling. He wants to help that guy. When I watch him play, him and Zubac, he'll have the layup and he'll just be so unselfish that he'll fake the layup and go back to Zoo. And I'm like, that's kind of who he is. So if I talk about one player that kind of mirrors me just in that way, man, it's got to be Russell Westbrook, who I'm a huge fan of.
It's interesting that you bringing that up about Russell, because from a media perspective, we would watch him for years. And as a point guard, he would shoot, and sometimes his shot selection was questionable. He wasn't the greatest jump shooter in the world, so we would be critical of that. And then one day I had the pleasure of having a conversation with him. He was talking about the media, and he was really open. I'm not going to share all the conversation because that's a private conversation between he and I. But I'm only saying it to pay tribute to him. The brother was as real and authentic as it gets. He was reminding me of, or really enlightening me about what was really important to him. And then you hearing about his community and who he's gearing his message towards, how this motor that he operates under, what it's all about, who he's trying to inspire. You start listening to him and talking to him. And you're like, well, wait a minute. It ain't anything selfish about that. There's nothing that's selfish about it. This brother's about team. He just ain't backing down. He a damn warrior. And he let you know if you want somebody in the foxhole with you, he the kind of cat you want in the foxhole with you.